I've evolved so much in these last 100 days as an entrepreneur. Like my sauce is so much more nasty than it was. Like I know when we succeed here, I'll be able to succeed in anything. This to me is my ultimate test. It's my ultimate challenge. I have $2.5 million on the line, but more importantly, I have my reputation on the line. Like this is the one I'm telling everybody that I'm going to blow out of the water. So far, I've hit. This one, I publicly went into something that was dying. I spent $2.5 million to buy it, and I'm basically saying it's going to be the biggest one in the world when all the other guys have hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank account. It's a brand awareness approach when you're kind of like bootstrapping a startup, but there's really no measurable ROAS yet that you can kind of gauge. So it's kind of like a mental ROAS where you're kind of like, oh, I did this. We did, 20 sales a day. That would equate to, 3 Ethereum, okay, 3 Ethereum is 15, $5,000, you know what I mean, at these prices, and you kind of move accordingly. It's definitely a little more complex because it's harder to forecast and it's harder to budget around, which I think is the issue. But that's why I'm really leaning into making it more of a ROAS centric business. Like I said, it's an IP company. It's not an NFT company. It just happens to be an NFT, and that's a cool vertical that we have. And we're definitely going to innovate and develop in the Web3 side. But like, I want to make toys. I want to make clothes. I want to make games. Like I want things that do have attributable ROAS, right? And it can be quantified in a pay for play model. So we're getting there. We're not quite there yet, but slowly but surely we're getting there.
Dude, that's so cool. I remember when I first found out about you, you were, like you said, I remember you had the Kurama, the nine-tailed fox, of all these different things that you were doing. So it's kind of cool to see that now you're focusing in, and man, I know you're going to just explode through this vertical. And also just all these things that you're mentioning, all these companies that are getting into the NFT space and Web3, I mean, they're going to be way behind by the time you're already a year deep and have figured all this shit out.
I'm figuring some shit out right now, dude. Right now, my main priority is getting money because I spent basically $2.5 million buying it, another 500 grand funding the treasury. But I need, when you're competing with guys with 700, 800, $300 million in the bank, it's tough. Though I think I can spend it way more efficiently than anyone else can. My main priority is getting the money to kind of get that first mover advantage, because I've cracked some codes, dude, that when I tell the story about this, a couple of years from now, whenever that time comes, there's some mind-blowing things that I've learned. If this thing failed tomorrow, it was worth every penny. The things that I have learned, I've evolved so much in these last 100 days as an entrepreneur. My sauce is so much more nasty than it was. My playbook for the last couple of years was pretty simple. Put people in places that can do things that I don't know how to do, or I don't like knowing how to do. Ad buying, which isn't rocket science. It's really product market fit and finding, a winning product.
Mm-hmm.
And then outsourcing and doing as little work as possible while, retaining a high profit margin and bridging gaps that are hard for the average person to bridge. That's really kind of was my model for the longest time. I also have a really interesting playbook when it comes to seeding, and I have a formula on how to move clothes and toys. I kind of cracked the code in that regard. But dude, this thing has opened up my playbook in a whole different way. I know when we succeed here, I'll be able to succeed in anything. This to me is my ultimate test. It's my ultimate challenge. And I have $2.5 million on the line, but more importantly, I have my reputation on the line. This is the one I'm telling everybody that I'm going to blow out of the water. And so far I've hit. But this one will be a lot more embarrassing if I miss, right? Von Dutch, I told you that'd be the biggest clothing brand. It was, you know what I mean? Gel Blaster, I said it would be the biggest toy, and it is, But this one, I publicly went into something that was dying. I spent $2.5 million to buy it, and I'm basically saying it's going to be the biggest one in the world when all the other guys have hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank account. And so if I pull this one off, it's undeniable. No one can say anything. So this is my ultimate stamp. And, if it fails, it fails. That's God's choosing, but I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that it wins. And if and when I win here, it's a wrap.
It's GG.
It's GG, dude. Game over.
Game over. So I love the chip on the shoulder first. I feel like every great entrepreneur that has a chip on their shoulder that it's look, I'm going to make this fucking happen. So I love that. I love the mentality.